Imagine if you had access to Gordon Ramsay's kitchen. Yeah, state-of-the-art kitchen, amazing, you know, and you have access to his cookware, his cutlery, his ovens, his stoves, his pots, his pans, everything, even his seasonings and spices. So what do? You invite a bunch of food bloggers and influencers over and say, hey, I'm going to cook you guys an amazing meal, and I want you guys to taste it on camera and tell everybody what you think. So the day comes, they all show up, they're excited, they don't even know what they're about to witness here, and you bring out this covered up platter full of something that you've been working very hard on all day, and you unveil it. You know, you pull the cover off, and then what do you have? A giant shit sandwich. Yeah, that's right, a shit sandwich. And then you cut it up and give everyone a piece and pretty much make them eat it while they're on camera, and then they have to tell you what they think of it. And to be polite, they're all just kind of eating it and going, yeah, it's pretty good, you know, I kind of like it, and you know, yeah, not too bad, dude, yeah. And then moments later, this happens.
He needs a toilet! He needs a toilet! No, Megan. No! No! Look away! What did we eat? Coming out of me like lava!
Well, that pretty much sums up how Gibson handled the launch of the Mesa MKIIc C+. Gibson, you know better, and I'm not going to go easy on you. Well, guys, I've been horribly sick all week, which explains my voice, and I wanted to do this video a few days ago, but I just decided I better get it done now before it's old news, so I'm kind of forcing myself to do this. So anyways, you guys all saw the launch video that you know, Gibson released a few days ago that has been since taken down. Now, you guys know what video I'm talking about, right? It's the one where Gibson had some influencers there at Sweetwater Gear Fest. It was months ago, and they just released the video the other day. And they surprised everybody with the MKIIc C+. They had everybody come in and spend a few minutes with it and play through it and just give their initial thoughts on it. Now, let me just say a couple things here. I have not seen the video. I had it on my watch later list. You know, I was going to get around to it, but I was really sick that day. And, you know, one of those days where everything bothered me. I didn't want to listen to anything. So I did come back around to watch it, and I noticed that it was taken down. So I started asking around, and people were like roasting the video. They're like, dude, that video sucked. It was so freaking bad. Now, let me just say this. It's not Sweetwater's fault, and it's not the fault of the influencers that played through the amplifier. I'm just going to put that out there right now. I'm not roasting them. I feel bad for them guys because they got pretty much pantsed in this video because they were kind of asked to play through an amp that was dialed in really, really bad, according to what a lot of people were saying, and it was just awful. And I guess they didn't really get an opportunity to dial it in for themselves. He just set it up for them and had them plug into it and give their initial thoughts. And the settings that he had on the amp, now he, meaning Dinesh Likraj, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he is the product content manager for Gibson. Okay, and Gibson, as you know, owns Mesa Boogie now. So he had the amp dialed in a certain way, and it just, according to what everybody was saying, sounded like pure ass. I mean, it was just awful. It doesn't matter what genre you would use it for, it just sounded terrible. Now, here's the thing. If you got a bunch of guys who play metal or at least heavier kind of music in a room with an amp that you want to get their first impressions of, what are you going to do? You're probably going to at least give them a baseline starting point of the amp where it should be dialed in properly for at least heavier tones, which he obviously did not do, unfortunately. So, I mean, basically with Mark amps, I mean, it's pretty simple. You just put the graphic EQ in a V, and don't pull the mids all the way down. Nudge them up a little bit. But you start there, you have the gain up pretty high, and then obviously the tone stack is basically influencing the gain structure of the amplifier, okay? So you adjust those things to make it tight and aggressive. I mean, it's simple. And it's especially simple if you work at freaking Gibson, who owns Mesa, and you're very familiar with their product, or at least you're supposed to be. And you should know how to dial the damn thing in so that when these guys who play that kind of music come in to give everyone, the whole world, their first impressions of this amplifier, it's at least dialed in properly. And yeah, I get it, there's nuance. I mean, maybe a guy would want this or that, tweak this way or that way, but at least it would have a good tone to start with. And we all know that first impressions mean a lot, and to a lot of people, they mean everything. So you got the whole world watching this, and this is a highly anticipated amplifier. We've all been wanting this to come out, and this is how it's displayed and presented to the general public for the first time. I mean, seriously, you are in a world-class studio. I mean, the facilities at Sweetwater are second to none. They're amazing. Millions of dollars in that place. And you have the best gear to mic it with and everything, and cameras and lights and all this, and you got these great influencers who know how to dial in a Mark amp. They've all done it. They're familiar with it. I mean, you have Fluff, for crying out loud. I mean, the guy is pretty much the biggest Mesa fanboy out there. Let him dial it in, dude. You know, I mean, I don't understand why all these decisions were made for these guys, and they all got pantsed by Dinesh by making them, you know, play through an amplifier that was dialed in so poorly. And basically what happened was these guys were probably just playing through it going, I don't know what to say. You know, this isn't really the way I would dial it in. Trying to be nice. I'm excited. I'm here with all my buddies at Sweetwater Gear Fest having a good time, and the vibes are good. And now the vibes are getting kind of weird, but I don't want to be the turd in the punch bowl and say something, so I don't know what to do. So I totally get the whole deer in headlights thing that was probably happening with these guys. So go easy on them, you know, don't get too hard on these guys and say, oh, you know, they should have done this or said that or whatever. I mean, now I might be Monday morning quarterbacking for some of these guys, but what I can say is I know my personality and I know what I'm like. And I know for a fact if I played through it and it didn't sound good, I wouldn't rag on it because I know it would sound good and it could sound good. I would just say, hey man, I'm a metal guy. Let me dial this in really quick and then we could do another take. And I want to show you what I think of it dialed in the way I like it. And I would have done that. It only taken me probably 30 seconds tops, and I would have got the sound I wanted out of it, and everything would have been fine. And they should have done that with each influencer, but they did not do that. So because of this and the way it was handled, everyone involved looks bad. And a lot of those people are innocent bystanders. I mean, let's face it, Gibson looks bad because they allowed this to happen and they actually organized the whole thing and shit the bed, you know, on this whole thing. And Mesa, along with their new highly anticipated Mark II-C Plus amp, look really bad because it sounds like shit in the video, but it's not the fault of the amplifier. It's the guy who dialed it in. And then, yeah, some of that spills over onto the influencers as well, because, you know, some people were saying things that they probably shouldn't have said about them, and how could they not, you know, how could they like this, or how could they say this, or how could they think that sounded good, or why didn't they dial it in better, or whatever. And again, innocent bystanders, but this kind of spilled over on them too, unfortunately. And it shouldn't have, but it did. And then, of course, Sweetwater doesn't look great either. And again, Sweetwater, amazing place, totally innocent bystander, but it was shot there, and apparently, if I'm not mistaken, it was uploaded on their channel under their name. So, I mean, this whole thing was just awful, and it was poorly handled, and I don't know who released that video or who put their stamp of approval on that, but man, that person needs talking to because according to what everybody was telling me, it sounded like pure dog shit. Now, I pretty much believe what everyone's saying because A, it's pretty much, you know, across the board, everyone agrees that it was a horrible video and the amp sounded like shit. And B, I did some, you know, research on YouTube and looked up some of the other videos with this amp with Dinesh dialing it in. And there's not one video where it sounds good. Not one. The Zounds video sounds like absolute shit as well. And again, it doesn't matter what genre you play, it just sounds like shit in the video. And it's not because the amp is a piece of shit. It's because it's dialed in wrong, and it's dialed in by a guy who either doesn't understand how to dial in this amp, or he needs his hearing checked because it sounds like shit. So I pretty much believe what everyone's saying about this video, and I totally understand why it was yanked off the internet, because according to what a lot of people were saying to me, it got completely ratioed and obliterated. I mean, everyone was just freaking beating it down and just saying, dude, this sounds like crap, and I don't know if I want to buy this. I mean, so this, not only was this a big waste of everyone's time, but it was a negative for the company involved, you know, Gibson and Mesa. It was a negative for the amp, and it was a complete negative for all the fans of the amplifier and people who wanted to buy it. I think that it chased a lot of guys away, and now they're going to have to wait for people who know how to operate this thing to upload a video with it and change their mind, you know. And the jury's still out on whether or not it's really a good amp. I mean, what a freaking shit show when it comes to releasing an amplifier that's highly anticipated. I mean, this was an epic fail, absolute freaking epic fail of galactic proportions. I mean, just awful. And with things being the way they are today, I mean, digital is a huge competitor to analog amplifiers, and amps are suffering. They really are. They're not selling like they used to, and a lot of people are going digital, and it's harder for, you know, manufacturers to sell amps. And with all that going on, to shit the bed this bad on a launch of a highly anticipated iconic amplifier is just stupid, and it's inexcusable. I mean, I've seen videos of random guitar players playing this amp in their bedroom and just uploading it to Facebook and some of the groups that sounded 10 times better than some of the videos I've seen with these high production values and all this with Dinesh demoing this amplifier. And that all brings me to this. I mean, you remember when Gibson acquired Mesa a while back, and a lot of people were concerned. You know, they were like, oh no, there goes Mesa, there goes everything, you know, I wonder if it's even going to work out for them, and the quality is going to go down. And, you know, everybody had their conspiracy theories and their concerns, and some were probably legit, some probably weren't. I mean, we're still kind of, you know, waiting for all of that to reveal itself. But I remained kind of in the middle, because I knew that Mesa had great stuff, you know, and I own a few of their amps and love them. And they got a great history of making amazing amplifiers. So it's cool, you know, and I had high hopes, but I was still cautiously optimistic. I'll put it to you that way. And my worry was that Gibson was going to kind of treat Mesa like a golden goose, you know, like, just keep laying eggs, man. You know, I mean, we don't really have a lot of passion with you. We just want you to just keep laying eggs. We bought you so you can lay eggs and we can make money, and we'll dump enough money into you to keep you going, but that's about it. You know, we want to get a return on our investment. Now, I totally understand that there's a business aspect to everything and all that, but I mean, I still wanted, you know, Gibson to be passionate about, you know, Mesa, as far as keep the passion alive, keep the creativity alive, and let's not treat this like a golden goose. Let's treat it like, all right, let's revamp some stuff and come up with some new ideas and really try some things and experiment and see what we can do with this, you know. Now, that being said, I'm sure there is some of that, you know, because from what I heard, Randall Smith wasn't interested in re-releasing anything. So I don't have any confirmation on that, but all I can say is I've heard that. And now, since Gibson has, you know, taken over, Mesa's doing some re-releasing. They're re-releasing the dual rec. They're re-releasing the, you know, the Mark II C Plus, and who knows what's coming out down the line. And I think that's awesome, you know, because you can't get some of these amps anymore. You can't get a Mark II C Plus unless you're going to pay, you know, 15 grand for it used, and it's ancient, you know. So I'm glad that they're doing it. And for the people who are wondering, oh, is this a cash grab, and should they have even done this? I think they absolutely should do it, and I'm happy they're doing it, and I think it's a great idea, you know, and I'm sure it's built well, and it probably sounds amazing if it's dialed in right. We'll find out soon, but it's really all about how it's presented and marketed to everybody, and that's where they're absolutely failing 100%, and that's where I start getting a little concerned, because I feel like the way that launch has gone so far with this amp is that it's just complete disregard for the legacy that Mesa has, and this amplifier as well. I mean, this is a legendary amplifier, and its re-release should have been handled with a lot more dignity and a lot more care and a lot more I don't know, excitement. And I just feel like it's been phoned in, and the amp sounds like it's phoned in the way it's dialed in as well. And I just think it's just been a piss poor launch. And no wonder there's no excitement about it. I mean, it totally popped the balloon, you know. I mean, all I'm hearing about is how bad it sounds in every single video that Gibson is releasing about it. And real quick, for those who are watching this video and, you know, maybe thinking to themselves, well, this guy's spewing a bunch of crap, but let's see him dial in the amp better. Well, I have a JP Mark II C+, which is an official Mark II C+ amp, and this is how I have it dialed in. So let's check that out now, because I have no problem backing everything up that I say. So in my opinion, those are the best settings for me anyways regarding metal. And like I said earlier in the video, I think this amp is very versatile and could do a bunch of different genres. But the way the Mark II C+ has been dialed in all of these Gibson related videos wouldn't work for any genre. I just think it sounds like crap in all of them. And I'm not alone. Everybody else that's been watching these videos and commenting on them says the exact same thing. There's probably exceptions to that, but I think you don't take down videos unless you've been ratioed into oblivion, and that's what happened with that video that we discussed earlier in this video. All right, so before my voice gives out, because it's starting to, two things really quick. You know, before you come at me and say, "Oh man, you're being a little hard on Gibson about this," and man, you know, you're hitting them pretty hard. It's like, well, look, like I said at the beginning of the video, there's no excuse for this. You know, there really isn't. Gibson's been around for eons. They got tons of money and tons of experience in this business, and they know better. I honestly feel that this whole launch has been very disrespectful towards Mesa, its followers, its fans of its amplifiers, and the amp itself. I mean, seriously, I see zero respect or regard for the legacy for this amplifier at all in this launch. I mean, this is the equivalent to Gibson releasing a video about one of their guitars, and it's got a scratch on it, fingerprints everywhere, and one of the strings are broke. You know, and they're like, check out our new guitar, you know, and it's like, what? I mean, you wouldn't see them doing that to their guitars. Why are they allowing this to happen with an amazing amplifier that's been re-released and highly sought after and anticipated? And the other thing is, if you're going to have influencers come in and you're going to surprise them with the launch of an amplifier, let them dial the damn thing in, especially if they're familiar with its predecessor. Let them dial it in, you know, and spend a little bit of time while you're in this amazing facility with all this amazing recording equipment and lights and cameras and editing equipment and everything else. Why don't you take advantage of that and get the best you can out of this reveal video, as opposed to shitting the bed like you did? I mean, what a waste of everyone's time involved. And like I said, everyone looks bad, including the innocent bystanders, like I mentioned earlier. And here's the other thing. I guess Gibson doesn't learn their lessons very well, because this same type of thing happened with the Mark VII. Remember when the Mark VII came out? And all the videos that Gibson was releasing about the amplifier just made it sound like pure dog shit. It was awful. And I actually bitched about that then. And a lot of people agreed with me. It was the same thing. And it's like, why didn't they learn their lesson that time? And not only did they not learn their lesson, but they doubled down on it. They got the same guy who dialed that amp in horribly and said, hey, you want to ruin this one too and go out and do some videos for us? Yeah, all right, cool. Make sure it sounds like pure dog shit for us, will you? Thanks. All right, cool. We'll give you a bonus. The shittier you make it sound, the more money you're going to make. I mean, was that what happened? Because holy shit, this guy really went out of his way to make this amp sound like pure crap. Now, I will say this. I'm sure Dinesh is a nice guy. and I'm sure he means well. And I actually looked at his Facebook page, and he's actually a really good guitar player. And he plays a lot of the classic rock type stuff, you know, dad rock, if you want to call it dad rock or whatever. And that's fine. I totally get that, you know, nothing wrong with that. But the way he had it dialed in wasn't even suitable for that. So, you know, like I said, let experts dial in the amp. You know, YouTubers are pretty experienced with all the different gear that they dial in and shoot out and compare and demo and review and all that kind of stuff. You know, we know a thing or two about this stuff, you know, and maybe it's best to let us just turn the knobs and maybe move a few faders here and there before we play through it, so that we can give you the best demo that we can, especially on an initial launch video. Well, anyways, I'll be watching, and hopefully somebody will come out with a proper demo of this amplifier soon, and hopefully they didn't scare a bunch of people away from buying it, because I think there's a lot of good things that this amplifier can do, and if in the right hands, I think it'll sound amazing, and I'm really looking forward to it. If I get a chance to get my hands on one, I will definitely demo it as well, and I'll compare it to my JP for you guys as well. But we'll see what happens. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel for that. Well, guys, like I said, my voice is fading, and I just wanted to get this rant out before it became old news. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what your thoughts are on the launch so far, and if you have any suggestions for me on videos where it sounds good, feel free to leave that in the comments section. I would appreciate that. Also, all my Patreon supporters and subscribers, thank you guys so much. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified every time I either go live or come out with another episode. I got a lot more stuff coming up, and I'll see you on the next one.